Good morning, everyone. I will call the Community Homeless Advisory Board meeting to order. First, we'll do a salute to the flag, and I'd love if Mayor Lawson would lead us.
Okay. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And now I'll take it over to the clerk for roll call.
Chair Alexis Hill.
Here.
Vice Chair Ed Lawson. Here. Bob Lucy is absent. Neoma Jardin.
Here.
Devin Reese is absent. Christopher Dayer.
Here.
And Deputy District Attorney Herb Kaplan.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Now we'll go to public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the board agenda. The board will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the board as a whole. Do we have any public comment, Madam Clerk?
We do not.
No. Okay. We will now go to approval of the minutes. We have minutes from August 2nd, 2021 and April 4th, 2022. I didn't see any changes that I needed to have made. Did any other board members see
Move
none?
to approve.
Okay, motion?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Got it. Thank you very much. We'll now go to item 5, approval to adopt the new Community Homeless Advisory Board meeting schedule to have one regular meeting per quarter on the first Monday of every third month, with the meeting that would be scheduled for September 5th being held on September 12th due to Labor Day holiday occurring on the first Monday of the month of September.
I have a comment.
Yes.
So I want to go back to something that we shared, and I know we voted yes unanimously on this, but for me, there was a caveat or something that was important. I'd like to know how and where we're going to place the unity and some of what we're trying to do across the region. I think for what we do on these, every 3 months was fine. I get it. I understand it.
Sure.
I don't believe that is a great example or the best to do to keep our touch on the pulse of what's happening in our region. And so I just want to find out where, how, and what are we doing with that. And we talked about having some other ancillary smaller meetings, maybe some roundtable discussion. I don't know the right answer, but I know when we started this, we started this for a reason, is that everyone was so in their own silos so much, and we changed some of that nature out in our community, and I want to make sure that doesn't turn back and that we keep celebrating the unity that is happening in our region. So however we do that, but I want to put that on the record. I'm fine to support this for what we do because I get it, because really that other stuff, we don't have to have our hands so in the other thing, but it needs to be there. It needs to be important.
I hear you. And I think what Dana Cersei's team is doing on the Built for Zero is really ramping up, and maybe that's an opportunity for better convenings and working together as a region. But I want to hear from the other board members if there's any other concerns. Yes, Councilwoman Jordan.
Thank you very much. I think I commented on this when we changed the schedule as well, is maybe the workaround in between the quarterly meetings is kind of just getting constant updates as to, like monthly updates as to points of interest and things that are going on at the campus. And I know I get some of it, but I'm not sure that I get, hey, look, we just installed the new shower, or those sorts of things that we can share with the community. There's been some really exciting things that have happened, and I don't know if maybe that's happening and I've missed it. Oh, she's got a newsletter. We got a newsletter, it looks like. So maybe that will suffice, my in-between sort of thing that we can digest and share updates that I know everybody's working on, and you guys are doing a fabulous job. But I'm okay with the quarterly meetings, assuming there's some sort of plugged-in information that we can, consume and share in between.
Absolutely. And I think what Dana has done a good job on is making sure this board knows about things before they hit the news or before we do a public announcement. But I know with her team ramping up, there will be more capacity to do that communication. And it sounds like Dana may update us about that our future agenda item down the item. So any other comments about this change? Okay, may I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Any second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, unanimously. Thank you so much, and we will keep you informed. Next item is item 6, the Regional Emergency Rental Assistance Efforts presentation by Heidi McKendry of the Reno Housing Authority, Monica Cochran of City of Reno, J.D. Klippenstein of Washoe County, and this is a non-action item. Good morning.
Can you hear me? There we go. For the record, I'm J.D. Klippenstein, Housing and Grant Specialist with Washoe County. I'm just going to do a quick introduction to this presentation, followed by some updates from Heidi and Monica. So we wanted to provide you all kind of the current status of the emergency rental assistance that has come through our community and the status of the programs moving forward. We know that we've been getting lots of questions, where to direct folks if they're in need of assistance. But the truth is there's also been a significant amount of work and millions and millions of rental assistance dollars that have gone into the community because of the hard work of RHA and the City of Reno and Washoe County. So we wanted you all to be aware of that so that you have that information if constituents or others are reaching out to you. And that's really what the point of this is to make sure that you're up to date on where things are. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Heidi. No, that we don't. You can just say next and I'll.
Got it. Sounds good. My name's Heidi McKendry. I'm the Interim Executive Director for the Reno Housing Authority. So the Housing Authority began administering emergency rental assistance when we were asked in June of 2020 by the Nevada Housing Division and City of Reno and City of Sparks to administer their CARES Act funding. And so we got our program up and running in about 3 weeks, and in July of 2020, we started administering those CARES Act funds. In total, between all 3 funding sources, City of Sparks did also allocate some of their CDBG funds for emergency rental assistance. We administered $8,149,797, and that was under what we called CHAP 1.0. So that was the CARES Act funding. We were able to assist 1,031 families with that funding source. Next slide, please. So the CARES Act funding lasted through February of 2021, and in March of 2021, we were also allocated additional funding to continue our program, and that was using Emergency Rental Assistance 1 money from the Appropriations Act. And so again, Nevada Housing Division, Washoe County and City of Reno allocated funding to the Reno Housing Authority to provide emergency rental assistance for COVID-related loss of income that prevented folks from being able to pay rent. So in total, funding from ERA 1 was $29,080,855 to the Housing Authority. As of May 31st, we have spent $19,761,482. We did stop accepting applications May 31st, anticipating that with the number of applications we had already received and that we were working, we would be able to expend all of our funds by the the expiration of that funding, which was September 30th, 2022. So we have been using the ERA 1 funding for quite some time, and in total we've served 2,548 families with that funding. We anticipate by the end of that program, when we work all of those applications and expend all of the funds, we will have served 3,543 families. And so next slide, please. In total, between CHAP 1.0, which was the CARES Act funding, and CHAP 2.0, which was the emergency rental assistance, pardon me, we will have spent in direct assistance to Washoe County residents $35,595,000 and served 4,574 families. One thing I would like to point out is that those funds came, we were given an allotment of administrative fees. The Housing Authority could have used up to 10% of that for admin fees. We only ended up using 4% of that. The rest of that went directly to assistance to families. So we really only utilized what we absolutely had to for admin fees. Again, we will have expended all of our funds, so by the end of September, $35.5 million only through the Housing Authority went to assist Washoe County residents. And I'll go ahead and hand it over to Monica.
Good morning, board members. Monica Cochran for the record. I just want to give could we just go back? Yeah, thank you. I just want to give a little bit of background. The city of Reno has operated a deposit assistance program for a number of years. That program primarily helped those experiencing homelessness or coming out of homelessness. And then in May of 2020, we expanded that program to include rental assistance and to help folks with higher AMIs. And as was already mentioned, the city of Reno also allocated funds to RHA over the pandemic to help assist a lot more households quicker than we could at that time. And then we've expanded our staff, and then we also have an online application now. Next slide, thank you. Let's see. So on this slide is pretty much the information for this last fiscal year. The last fiscal year, we offered or provided over $5 million in rental and deposit assistance to Reno residents, and in one of our programs, we also provide assistance to anyone in Washoe County. Those are funds that come in through the Washoe County Home Consortium, and they are affordable housing trust funds. In this fiscal year to date, we've assisted 1,564 households. That's unique households. Many of them received a number of rents and or deposits, depending on the funding source. Some of them received up to 15 months rental assistance. And with our programs, we have a variety of funding sources. We're able to help folks all the way up to 80% of area median income. And then we will continue this program over the next fiscal year. We have a variety of sources. We still do have the emergency rental assistance funds available to provide assistance to those that have been affected in some way by the pandemic. And then we also have a variety of other funding sources to still help provide rental and deposit assistance in the coming fiscal year.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilwoman Jordan.
Thank you very much. I didn't know if you wanted us to ask questions now or wait till the end.
If you have a question, you feel free.
My question is this. Good morning.
Hi.
My question is this: of the dollar amount that you show here and the number of households that are assisted, could this be same households as were previously?
No.
Okay, so these are on top of. Could someone, before we're done here today, do the quick math for us to do a snapshot, even of just in the last year, the total numbers? And maybe you have it at the end of it. I just would like to know how many households in the region have we?
Non-duplicative.
Yes.
Yes. I was
Cumulative
thinking
between
of that.
dollars and households, because I wasn't sure if this could be the same households or separate, and you said they're separate, so
Yep.
if someone could just do the quick math by the end.
Okay, if my colleagues behind me have their numbers for this fiscal year, we can add those together.
Okay, thank
Yep,
you very
And this
much.
is just for the City of Reno program.
Thank you.
And that is all I have, unless we have some additional questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. For the record, JD Klippenstein. I'll talk a little bit about, I guess we're the newcomer on the block in terms of rental assistance programs. Washoe County decided to keep our ERA 2, which was the second round of assistance. There's ERA 1, which Heidi spoke of from the Consolidated Appropriations Act. ERA 2 was part of the American Rescue Plan. So this is another round of rental assistance that came through Washoe County, rather than subgranting that to the Housing Authority, which obviously had their hands full with millions and millions of dollars they were distributing. We kept this program in-house, and we hired some grant-funded staff, and we launched at the end of November of 2021. And we wanted this program to be really flexible and targeting the most vulnerable households in our community. So rather than this being a program that anyone could apply to, which the city of Reno and RHA have a very open application process where anyone can go to their website and start to apply for those funds, and then there's a process of vetting for eligibility. Our program ran a little bit different. We partnered with 5 or 6 particular community partners who, in the course of their ongoing resourcing, were able to apply for rental assistance with and on behalf of the households that they were already assisting. We wanted to do this to, one, move a little bit quicker. We had about a month turnaround from application to actually getting the funds out into the community. And oftentimes it took us about 10 days from application to review and letting someone know, the household know, if they were eligible to receive assistance. So we were trying to be very quick, and we were also trying to lower any barrier that households might face in terms of actually getting through the application process. So we designed it in a particular way to work with key community partners on that front. So with that background out of the way, we can go to the next slide. So in the course of about 6 months, we distributed about $3.5 million to 766 households. Our total allocation for ERA2 was just shy of $5.2 million. So with the remainder, we've actually made the decision, we have closed the application to our external partners. We did this at the end of April because we were worried about overexpending for, in terms of the funds that we had allocated for staff costs for housing stability services. And also, in light of the county moving into a leadership role at CARES Campus, we wanted to have the ability to have funds to help rehouse folks out of CARES Campus. So ERA2 are the most flexible of all the rental assistance funding that has come into the community. We can, for example, eligibility is based upon having dealt with financial hardship during the pandemic rather than due to the pandemic. So the flexibility in the language means that you're able to assist more households that may not be eligible for ERA1 or previous rounds of assistance. And we can spend it till 2025. So there's a longer timeline on it, and there's some more flexibility in the funds. So at the county, we saw an opportunity to use these funds to target and assist the most vulnerable community members and folks who had already fallen through the cracks, who had become homeless or dealt with extended periods of homelessness during the pandemic. So as I said, the remainder of these funds, of the 5.2 that we haven't expended, are dedicated to 2 housing navigators that we will have active working with CARES Campus participants. We also, Human Services Agency, one of the departments in the county, is using it for some emergency motel stays. And then we will be using it for security and rental assistance, security deposits and rental assistance for folks actively trying to transition out of homelessness. So that is the update for the ERA2 fund, which was kind of the third program that was operating. All 3 of these programs are operating at the same time. So we wanted you all to have a better sense of what that looks like. And to Councilwoman Jardin's question, the next slide should provide a kind of a 30,000-foot view on what has been spent total. So these are broadly, as of the 31st of May, all 3 programs combined have distributed over $35 million into the community for emergency rental assistance. And if you combine those households, it's just around 5,800 households that have already received assistance. And then when you take into account the longer-term spend down of RHA's program until September, there's about additional $10 million that they're working to get out the door. We're looking at about just shy of 7,000 households will have received emergency rental assistance by September 30th of this year, which is the cutoff date. All ERA1 funds have to be spent by the 30th of September. And as I said, ERA2 and some of the other funding sources that Monica mentioned have different timelines and flexibility. So some of those will be used for ongoing rental assistance efforts in the future.
Non-duplicative, the 68.
I can't say it's non-duplicative entirely.
Your friends behind you are saying, yeah.
There are 2 programs likely are non-duplicative.
Okay.
The 766 that we provided, I can't say that we often assisted folks who at one point or another had also received assistance from one of the other programs, but due to ongoing hardship, needed additional rental assistance.
So it wouldn't be accurate to say, this program has assured that 6,000 people were not, homeless during this time, or perhaps? We don't have the number quite.
No, I wouldn't say as a non-duplicative. We could go through that. We have the data to do that. We absolutely could, if so directed by folks to do that. We could go through and see if it's non-duplicative. But right now, yeah, I wouldn't say that it is that 6,800 is non-duplicative.
Okay.
I would say that's how many households total were assisted at one point or another. That could be at different times throughout the program, right? So one program, a household could have received assistance multiple times and often needed to receive assistance multiple times.
And then with the county program, real quick question before we turn over to the rest of the board. On the 2020, the funding we're hoping to have until 2025, are we also helping with paying for the difference between a voucher and the cost of an apartment? Are we also paying for a caseworker with that in partnership, or is that just for rental assistance, or is it just a combo of those kind of things?
What the ERA2 funds are directly being put towards our staff costs for our housing navigators, 2 housing navigators, and then also we can provide a security deposit and rental assistance up to a certain amount of months for anyone who meets the eligibility criteria.
Okay.
There are times when someone who has a voucher meets that eligibility criteria, particularly if they are currently homeless, they meet all the criteria. We can cover whatever the tenant owed portion of their rent is, and also the security deposit, which oftentimes vouchers are not able to cover. So we are trying to leverage both those resources together to ensure that there's greater voucher utilization in the community, but also that we can stretch the dollars as far as we can in terms of housing assistance.
That's great. Thank you. I think Councilwoman Jordan or
Yeah.
Councilman Dare.
Thank you. I have a couple questions. One, I do want to say how important any of this is, in the sense I know what we've done is so crucial, but keeping people in their homes, kudos, it's so important, so important. I have a couple questions. One, I'm a Sparks guy. So if you go to your very first slide, go to the very first one, and we are part of the region, but not on this slide. And I think with us putting money in here, keep going, all over, keep going, right there. So I only say that to say this is a regional approach, I believe. We do put money in this, and I'm not understanding why we're not on there. Just let it be said. You don't have to say anything. It's all good. I'll say it out loud for everyone to hear. But I will say this, though. Well, it is, but I think I want to say it. So anyway, the thing I do want to say, though, is do you have any idea regionally, some breakouts of where the money goes? I've done just the math. It's about $8,000 per household where it goes. Regionally, do you have any layouts like in Sparks, in Washoe County, in Reno, where that money goes, how many houses you've helped, and that kind of thing?
We have every household that receives assistance. We keep track of the address that received the assistance. So analysis could be done to kind of map out.
I think that'd be helpful.
Unincorporated Sparks and City of Reno.
I say that on either end. I say that one is to make sure what limited finances we do put in, we know that it's a good return for what we're doing, that it's hitting the people we need. But then also with that said, that if we can say, hey, if we ever think that we find other grants and we want to push to try to get more involved and more helpful, then we can see where, what that looks like. But I think that'd be really great to be able to see that kind of information. And my only other thing is I saw that things are closed, that you guys have no more openings for anybody through. But so is everyone through September already lined out, or can people still sign in, or no more?
So I'll share what my understanding is, and I can let Heidi or Monica speak to it. My understanding is that City of Reno intends to have an ongoing rental assistance program that remains open for folks who are eligible for it. RHA's program is currently distributing funds, is no longer taking applications, except for one caveat, which I think was on the slide.
Yeah, so we are taking it through the courts. We get direct referrals from the courts. If there's somebody in an eviction situation that would qualify for emergency rental assistance, we're still taking those applications. We still work with a few social service organizations that are working with folks that are in crisis. So we are taking those, but we're not taking outside applications. So direct referral.
Gotcha.
We're still taking.
Thank you.
I just wanted to comment on the unique households question. The number that JD provided, I would say the majority of those are non-duplicative. The Housing Authority and the City of Reno We cross-reference our clients to make sure that we're in compliance with all of our funding sources. So we'll get a better number for you, but the majority of those are non-duplicative.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other board member comments? Yes.
Thank you very much. So to just summarize, the dollars that have been allocated, we'll say since the beginning of the pandemic, is that fair? Those were all the different grants, the ARPA funds, which are, is that correct?
Yeah, so ARPA was ERA 2, and then the
Okay.
consolidated appropriation was ERA 1, and then prior to that was CARES Act funding. So it's 3 separate funding sources.
Okay, but some of the ARPA funds are, the amounts are dictated by the various jurisdictions, correct? The
Yeah,
allocations.
they're allocated per jurisdiction.
So to Councilmember Dare's comments, I think it would be good in the future to do a little bit of a deeper dive to do a couple of things. Line out the total number of households assisted, unique households assisted, what the average deposit assistance was and the average rental assistance was, and maybe even for how long, like how many months did someone get the rental assistance? And then the locations of those receiving that assistance, and maybe just an asterisk to show, you know, Reno put in 25 million, you know, Sparks put in X to the ARPA, I mean, just so we can kind of have a snapshot of that. But it would be great to see over the period of, you know, the last 2.5 years, that we could see 7,000 households were helped at an average of, you know, $1,500 in deposit assistance and $400 a month. I don't know what the amount is, I'm making that up. But something like that, so we could kind of see this is what the help was on an averaged basis. That would be good information.
Yeah, so the data is all there for us to do that. I think the staff capacity hasn't been primarily because it's been on operating the programs, but as these programs are wrapping up, that's
I
a
think that would be
conversation
really,
to
really
have.
helpful. It's kind of an audit feature as well.
Yeah.
For us to see how the monies were expended as well. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, and to the point, I think we need to make sure that the presentations are regional. So thank you for pointing that out, and we'll make sure that Sparks is included. I apologize for that.
Chair, I would just like to offer a little context. Those 3 were, because they were in-house programs, we were trying to reflect that there were 3 separate programs actually ran by the 2 jurisdictions and the RHA. So there was no slight intended to the city of Sparks. It just wasn't, that Sparks didn't run a program independent of RHA, but fully recognizing we should recognize their contribution funding-wise.
Oh, that Sparks put into RHA.
Yes, that's what, yeah, so
Got
that I
it.
just want to provide the context there. That's why we had
Okay.
2 other jurisdictions didn't, we kept money and ran programs separately, so we wanted there to be that reflection in terms of
Okay.
where people are applying. But
Thank
and I
you.
hear Councilman Dare's comment, and as the person who put the slides together, I understand what you're saying.
Get
I'll make
that
sure to do
logo
that
up there,
better.
JD.
I will.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you. We'll go on to item 7, board update on Bill for Zero. I'm so excited. This is my favorite thing that we do. Dana Searcy, Washoe County. Yeah.
Good morning, Dana Searcy for the record, Washoe County. Behind me, I have Katrina Peters, if you wouldn't mind. In the future, you're going to be hearing a lot more from her. She has stepped into our data and policy specialist role. She's going to be working on most of the county's housing efforts, all of our continuum of care work, and also Built for Zero. And bear with us on the slides as we don't have clickers. So a lot of this presentation, we haven't talked about Built for Zero in about a year. We've been very busy, but we wanted to bring you up to speed because a lot of that work that we had put into place has continued to kind of trickle along, and we're ready for this next big step of work. So we'd like to share that with you today. As you'll recall, we've spent a lot of time on this foundational work. Really, Built for Zero is about who are all the people who need help, what are all the resources in our community available to help, and are we efficiently and effectively matching those up? That is done through our quality data and our by name list, that list of all individuals who are currently experiencing homelessness, our outreach coverage, making sure that we're working in coordination and not duplicating efforts, and also through case conferencing, which this is used in many different formats, but for Built for Zero specifically, this is managing that by name list out of our HMIS database and matching people up with the available beds in our community and housing opportunities. Slide. All of this really leads us to that increased effort in reducing homelessness in our community through more efficient housing placements. Slide. What is established and ongoing work over the past year and a half now is our community dashboard. We've been sharing monthly data out on our website and with you each time that we've presented. We have coordinated outreach. We'll go through what that looks like, as well as our case conferencing. And what we're still working on is achieving that quality data notation from Built for Zero using our HMIS database. Slide. We'll go through all of this. This is what our current data looks like. We're showing you through April today. We are undergoing some changes in our methodology as more communities that use our HMIS system, BitFocus, have gone and joined Built for Zero. That's brought up some additional questions and some more thorough looking at the system. So we're getting a little better number as we are tinkering with things right now. You'll see this number continuing to rise. Next slide shows this number just in a little bit different format, the unsheltered, emergency shelter, and other sheltered. This would be all our transitional housing programs. This is a breakdown there. And again, you're seeing that number continue to rise. As we've shared with you many times, this is actually a good sign right now. This is an indicator of more programs reporting into HMIS right now. And you can see that number's ticking up. We're right about 2,300 right now. And this is a 90-day, if you're active in a 90-day time period, that's what this is pulling. And this is the breakdown by gender. Next slide. This is new data that we're sharing today. This is a snapshot from our point-in-time count when we look at all of our community inventory on the housing front. One of the things that we'll be monitoring as we move forward into the next phase using the data that we're collecting is how do we make sure that our programs are utilized to 100% capacity. We have a lot of beds in our community that are not going used in our really good programs. And that's our next step, is to figure out why and how do we more effectively use those beds. Coordinated outreach. You're hearing a lot about this. You guys have seen a lot of presentations. Clean and Safe team, law enforcement teams, Karma Box, Downtown Improvement District. There's a lot of people working together on outreach. And we're working to share data, make sure that all of the different areas of the county are actually touched and again, not duplicated. Data collection has been a struggle in the past, but we've made a lot of progress on this. Most of these partners are currently entering data into HMIS. We have lots of meetings going on where we're actively engaged in who's going where are the needs, how can we help each other. And then for us, and the next step is to get everybody in there. The emergency departments and the detention facility are on here. Both of them, we have not sat with them yet specifically, but the need is starting to show. They both have case managers working towards discharge plans, and we're gonna start to actively engage with them. How can we engage before somebody's discharged and figure out how to do that warm handoff and avoid a discharge to the street, and then which case the outreach teams have to start over. And then the unsheltered case conferencing meeting. Next slide, I'll go over case conferencing, but this one's specific to unsheltered, and that's been pretty successful. So case conferencing is where we all sit around the table and we share information. We look at the list, who's on that list, who's greatest of need on that list, who's working with somebody currently that's willing and ready, and where are all those housing options, and how can we connect those people or help fill in gaps or needs so that we can make that progress. So there's currently 4 meetings, and again, this is Built for Zero calls it case conferencing. There's a lot of similar style things going on with case managers at our place and CARES campus. It's not yet part of Built for Zero work, but it's all a very similar concept. But for specific to Built for Zero, case conferencing meetings going on, and lots of lessons learned. We're really seeing the impact that having that warm handoff from one program to the next, instead of just saying, hey, go head down there and check in at the front and they'll help you. That obviously makes a very large change. So we're seeing those results. Also, outreach, we are seeing in the unsheltered, I think, between data and talking about the data and talking with each other, we're really seeing good efforts as far as knowing where individuals are that we hadn't known previously. You are seeing quite a bit of a jump on the data that we're sharing with our unsheltered population. We're just finding more individuals that need help. And our software usage. We've shared this image before. We all have our programs and our software that we're using, and that's great, and nobody is saying that we shouldn't be using those. But we still need that one central database that has everything in it so we can work most efficiently. Next slide. Thank you. And the benefits of that is having that real-time data, that current list of everybody who is currently homeless and who we can help. And standardizing all of the data when we're sharing outcomes about programs and utilization of those programs. When everybody's in their own system or using their own metrics, it's difficult to compare across the region to see what's working well and what's not. And also robust recidivism data. We would love to be able to share that with you. And it's not if someone leaves CARES Campus, do they ever come back to CARES Campus? It's if they have transitioned out of homelessness, are they transitioning back? And that's across the entire region on all the different programs. Very important. And essentially that leads to effective data for all of you guys and leaders to make decisions on how that funding is used in our community. We've made a lot of progress though. We are improving policy, and if you could go back a slide real quick. Thank you. HMIS licensing, the county has dedicated quite a bit of funding to support on licensing for HMIS through our ARPA funds. GIS capability is new to HMIS, and that has been deployed, and we're experimenting with that with the outreach teams. Again, just knowing where individuals are and tracking movements across the community. The next tackle for us is to get a case management module inside the system. We've heard that from our partners. That's kind of the biggest hurdle there. And that next slide has the list of everybody who's currently reporting program outcomes in HMIS. All of our enrollments into programs, that's the important piece that we're really trying to tick off. This list has grown substantially since last year. And the next slide shows the next group. These are the remaining programs. As we've said, we have been busy. We have not actively sat down with each of these groups, and that's our next step. That's why we're bringing you this update so that you're aware we're going to be reaching out to partners and asking them to support this effort and explain why it's important and see how we can help get some of these programs into HMIS. So last year when we presented to you, we had about 40% of our programs in the region reporting into HMIS. We've made it up to 62%. So we're making some progress. And on our next slide is our goal. This is our Built for Zero goal. When we get 90% of our providers reporting into that by name list in HMIS, then we will have achieved our quality data standing at Built for Zero. So this is a very specific goal for us. Our team from the county, we were given fairly short notice, so we didn't take a regional team this year, but we just got back in middle of May. We went to Chicago, the first in-person Built for Zero meeting since we have joined. We got to meet our coaches, we got to dig in a little bit, so we have a clear understanding of the direction that we need to go. The next one's in the fall, and we're really hoping to bring a lot of our partners with us so we can start to kick this effort off again. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Awesome. Councilwoman Jordan.
Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you very much for all of the updates. A couple of questions I had on the HMIS front. If you could go back to the slide that showed those that are not currently participating. I just wanted to know, I know that there hasn't been recent
One more back.
outreach as it relates to those that are not in the HMIS system. Go closer to the
14.
end.
Slide
It's
14.
the HMIS that are not in, right there, there you go. Of those, that was up there for a hot second, of those, were they asked a year ago, a year and a half ago to participate in HMIS?
So many of them have been asked at some point, a lot of them at the very beginning. You know, I can honestly say I've never sat down with the Reno Sparks Gospel Mission and said, hey, why are you guys not in there? Do you know about it? Do you know why it's important? Some of them have been talked to about it, and, you know, for one reason or another, that's not happened. I think with the support now, we're seeing the movement towards HMIS. We knew that we had a pretty big lift ahead of us with this transition of getting everything moved to the county and CARES campus with the region for all of us. So we didn't put the pressure on. We just kind of dabbled around and said, you know, let us know if you're interested. So at this point, we're going to go back and we're going to say, we've got some tools now. We've got some money to help pay for some licenses. We're going to build a case management module, which we know is the biggest barrier. We want to hear your feedback. What do you need in HMIS in order to make it a little more user-friendly? And then we'll see how that goes.
Okay, because aside from, that was going to be my next question, is I assumed we were still going to help fund in part or in whole some of the transition or connecting of between their system and HMIS system so they can participate. The other thing is, I'll be honest, I'm a little concerned that there are some fairly, some funding from the city of Reno going to a couple of these programs, and the fact that they're not on it is disturbing to me.
Yes.
So I would like, as you move forward with the conversations, particularly with a couple of these, would like to know the feedback. And in addition to the fact that it sounds like it's not a monetary concern necessarily, it might, be a resistance to change. I get it, but we all need to be swimming in the same direction with the same information. So I would appreciate, as you move forward, particularly as it relates to HOPES and the Downtown Reno Partnership, feedback on their feedback. Thank you.
Yes,
Anyone?
Councilman Dare.
Yes, I'm going to agree with the measure of how important this is on what you just shared. And I'd even say, you're saying this really nice, and you're saying it very nice. Good job. But I'm saying people have to get on this. And I'd say, and I get that maybe we weren't ready to accept everyone as much. I mean, we had things to do. We had some things to get together. So I would even say, okay. But I would say in the next few months, if this is not seeing the change that we need, I think we need to communicate to donors of where their money's going. And I say that because they're not actually helping as much as they think they are if you're not working together. And I think donors need to hear that. And I don't mind that the people out there listening hear that, to say, hey, listen, we don't mind talking to your donors, to say they're not getting on board. We're trying to do something as a region, and this is too important. And so we'd rather them come on their own and see it. But if they don't, we need to show them how important this is, I think.
Thank you. And I think it's really important also to point out, we have Washoe County programs that are not on Built for Zero. So I don't want these nonprofits to feel like, oh, we're really criticizing you. We also have some programs that we need to get on board and we're working on as well. And I know that there's resistance because in the past, maybe folks it wasn't as functional, but I think that with all of these investments, and that's what last time Dana and I sat down with a partner who was on this list, who's not on the Built for Zero HMIS program, we let them know, hey, we are going to help you. There's going to be assistance and funding associated with this. We'd love if you'd get on board. And they were like, okay, let me talk to my team about it. So I feel like there is some openness of like, okay, this is, the county's very serious. We really want to invest in you. Yes, Councilwoman Jarrett.
And to that point, I didn't mean for my comments to sound critical either. We did two major things in the last few years.
Yep.
We went through a massive pandemic, and we built the Nevada CARES campus, and we transitioned leadership for homeless services over to the county. So everybody's kind of been trying to keep the lights on and keep take care of everybody as best we could in emergency situations, and now it's just time to reconnect
Yep.
on those fronts. And we have more tools in the toolbox to make it smoother and less fiscally and otherwise impactful. So I didn't want my comments to come off as.
No, and I didn't want you to
Yeah.
think that I thought you did. I just want to make sure I was calling out Washoe because I'm like, I know we also have some work to do on our end. Yes, it is time. Anyone
If,
else? Yes.
if I may, that's fair. And a lot of other programs are going through the same thing, right? And while Washoe County is on that list, Washoe County wasn't an HMIS because it doesn't meet their need. And that's why it's really important for us to include partners at that table to make sure that when we do spend all this money and we do go through the effort, that it is going to meet their need. And it has been an enormous amount of work, but our place is now putting information into HMIS, and they have spent the last several months catching data up all the way back to when it opened. So we are very appreciative of them and all the staff time going into that, and it's a really big. The numbers are going up. We're seeing that they're seeing people that we're not seeing, which is what we all thought, but we weren't sure. So it's all an effort.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, one of the classes, they had at the U.S. Conference of Mayors here a couple weekends ago, which was pretty interesting. But one of the classes I went to was Built for Zero, and it was interesting to hear the perspective of the different mayors around the country. But the most successful ones had dedicated funding for their homeless programs. And the housing was a key part of that, is that transitional housing. So even if you're trying to get to the low barrier bed, or some type of barrier bed, that we have a way to get them over there. I would just throw this out for the group here. Is this something that we may want to look at as a whole, to have provide? Miami did it by a small tax, and I think they raised something like $35 million a year off of tourism, and it was a small amount, like $1 or some room night or something. It was a pretty small number. So. But their transitional housing program is very strong. And I don't know how many people live in Miami, but it's millions, I'm sure. And their homeless population is at 1,200, which is pretty amazing. Wow. So ostensibly, they're built for zero. They're at zero at this point. So but everyone around the country had some type of dedicated funding, which I think if we're going to fix this problem, that's what we have to look at. And I know that from my side, from the city of Sparks, we'll help in any way we can to make that happen, but that's gonna have to be a legislative change somewhere. And I don't know how we do it, but brighter minds than mine, I'm sure, can work on this problem.
I love it. Yes, Councilman Dare.
I just want to say too, and if you would like any help with Gospel Mission or any of the people in that, let me know. I know them, and we can go down and have a hug.
Sounds good. They're a great partner to us. We just haven't had this conversation yet, so, okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And to the mayor from Sparks, Mayor Lawson's comments, we at the City of Reno, as our #1 budget priority in our dedicated ongoing funds, have made the transitional housing component a significant priority, knowing that, particularly now that we're out of the emergency sheltering and homeless services, which was, as you can imagine, all-consuming, we are now making that the priority and dedicating significant funds in that regard, and have already purchased properties and things to renovate for that purpose. So we're heading that direction, but you're right. Even when you look at the governor's $500 million in affordable housing funds, when you break it down to a per unit, it's not a lot, which when you think of $500 million, I mean, this is going to have to be an ongoing funding mechanism. And to the mayor's point, we're going to have our legislative representatives at the state and the feds, quite frankly, help us to solve this issue that's not unique to Reno. It's across the nation. So thank you.
That's great. And I think that could be a potentially really cool presentation for our next meeting, if y'all are ready, or for a future meeting, to hear what your programs are, because I think folks don't realize all that work that you're putting in as well. Any other comments, questions? Okay. We will go on to item 8, board update and discussion on the Nevada Cares Campus Emergency Shelter, Anna Huntsburger, Washoe County, Dana Searcy, Washoe County.
me again, Dana Searcy, Washoe County. Lots is happening at the CARES campus these days, but I hope that you will be pleased to hear some of the progress. As we have maintained, our priorities are on staffing and training, safety and security, the facility and the construction efforts, and also partnership development. 1 year in, and we wanted to share these stats because I was asked these stats for a news article that came out, and I thought they were so impressive that I should share them with all of you. We have seen almost 3,500 unique clients at the CARES campus in the first year. It's a pretty staggering number. And just shy of 200,000 bed nights. That's every head on every bed. That does not include the overflow or safe camp. That is just inside that sprung building. We've got new case management, mental health, and medical support opportunities coming. Our day center should say open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and we're using that overnight when we need warming. You'll hear later we're using that. We will be using that when there is smoke in the air and we need to give people a place to stay overnight. We have temp buildings on site. Several of them. We'll show you what that looks like. Construction started last week, and in the Safe Camp, it started the week before that. So it is very exciting around there, and hope should start, if they haven't already, any day. And VOA, we have that team here with us. We're going to introduce you to the new team that will be helping us operate the CARES campus. We have put in supportive housing applications. So the county put in 4. One is for our supportive housing that we've been talking about at the CARES campus. The other 2 at the CARES campus are for some of that extra land, 3 acres of that Reno Housing Authority property that we are working to acquire will be a permanent supportive housing option, as well as there is about an acre of land on the Safe Camp that we gained from raising up that bowl. We are gonna hope to turn that into a housing option also for the campus. And then the 4th one would be a copy of our supportive housing that we're gonna build as part of CARES campus to do one over at the NAMS campus as well. And that is a rendering of inside. I hope next time we talk to bring you floor plans and more renderings of that supportive housing for CARES campus. Also, our partnership and volunteer development will show you that list. It is definitely growing. Recruitment efforts are starting to pay off. Our operator RFP, we just said that. And Anna is here with me. I'd love to introduce you to her and let her take you through the behavioral health program and then construction and intake building preparation. We'll talk about that. So partnerships, I know this is a little bit small, but I wanted to include everybody's name. All the black in that yellow box are already on campus, and all of the white, some are on campus in a temporary capacity, but all of them are working through their MOUs to have in place with us and to provide services at the campus. And our volunteers. We have 13 consistent volunteers on site. We have 12 more in process. We're starting to move outside of that food. We've got some activities like bingo night and haircuts and that kind of thing that are starting to happen. So it's just a little more lively activity happening. They're serving meals. They're also working on community mail and, like I said, the activities at the campus. I'm going to introduce Juliana, that you know very well. Come on up.
Good morning, Juliana Glock for the record. So I have the honor to be here today to introduce the new team that will be working and collaborating with Washoe County directly at the CARES campus. Christy Holderegger, she was scheduled to be here this morning, and unfortunately she has tested positive, so she's at home isolating. But she's very excited to be working directly with Reno. She is the Vice President of Northern Nevada and our Chief Development and Communications Officer. She's been with Volunteers of America for over 30 years. She has a wealth of knowledge. So I personally am really looking forward to working with her. So today I'm going to introduce Scott Benton as our new Shelter Director and Penny Adams as the Assistant Shelter Director.
Good morning, Scott Benton for the record. I'm excited to step into this role as the shelter director. For the last year, I've had the honor to serve under Juliana as her assistant director of operations and compliance, so VOA is a familiar thing to me. The shelter is familiar to me. I'm excited for the partnership with Washoe County. I've gotten to work hand in hand with the county for the last year, bringing partners onto the campus, which has been exhilarating. Seeing the lives change into the participants of the shelter with the partnerships has just been such an honor. Serving in the role as the assistant director has prepared me to lead the shelter in the best direction. So I'm excited for this opportunity.
Good morning. I'm Penny Adams for the record. I am the new assistant director for VOA. I'm thrilled to continue working with a passionate, experienced leader in our organization, Scott, that just spoke as the new director. I have over a decade of experience working with nonprofits. I have an MBA in organizational management with an emphasis in human resources, and I feel that this will be instrumental in training and motivating staff, so I'm very excited about that part. I'm excited about working with Washoe County and continuing our relationship, which has been fabulous. Also, I want to thank Juliana for her support and guidance in my journey at VOA. I look forward to working with Christy, the Vice President, and I'm excited about the future with Washoe County. Thank you.
We're very excited. There's, like I said, a lot of good things. There's lots of new staff. As you can see by our staffing level charts, I included last month that we met. That's what it looked like. And now we're kind of moving more into that blue area. More positions are getting filled, especially as contracts have stabilized and been put into place. New pay ranges have been solidified for VOA and staff there. And our case managers and behavioral health teams have started to fill in. Still not quite there on our behavioral health, but we're going to get there. And really just, I think the general atmosphere at the campus is much more hopeful. There's lots of exciting things and everybody's just happy to see each other and running around with smiles on their faces because of the change. So it's really good. Next slide. I'm gonna bring up Anna. I'm gonna introduce you to Anna Huntsburger, and she is leading our behavioral health team.
Good morning, Anna Huntsburger, Mental Health Counselor Supervisor. I wanted to just share a few slides, let you know what the vision is for behavioral health services on the CARES campus. As Dana mentioned, we currently have some vacancies. We're actively recruiting. We have 6 allotted positions for mental health counselors. Right now, I am the only one who is working. However, we have someone new who's starting next week, so very excited about that. As I mentioned, we have 5 different areas in which I can foresee mental health counselors providing services. Those would be the areas of crisis intervention, outreach, open psychoeducation groups, closed group psychotherapy, and individual psychotherapy. And I'll just run through each one of those and kind of let you know a little bit more about those. So the first and the most vital service I think that we can provide on campus is going to be crisis intervention. So what I'm envisioning is that we'll have mental health counselors on shift, on call to respond to any crisis that might be occurring on campus. And we'll be setting up a phone number so that during those hours, we can have a mental health counselor respond. A staff member can call and say, you know, we have someone we would like for you to talk to, and we can go respond and talk to that person. That will be available to anyone who's on campus. So that would include individuals who might be there for day use in addition to those who are staying at either Safe Camp or the emergency shelter. And the goal, once we hire all of our positions, is to have that available 7 days a week. The second is going to be outreach. And I come from a very collaborative background, and I really believe in collaboration with multiple disciplines. So what I would like to see is that mental health counselors will be able to work with case managers to maybe meet up with individuals who maybe aren't making meetings or aren't making progress on their housing plan, and try to work on identifying barriers and then linking that individual with additional resources if needed. I think that it will also be important for us to assist with debriefing. So if there's a critical incident on campus, that we can provide that follow-up and that outreach and support, not only for the participants, but also checking in with the staff who have been involved. The third thing I can see in outreach is providing preemptive crisis intervention. So if we hear maybe someone's having some difficulty, maybe with a transition or just having a bad day, we can do some outreach and just do a check-in and see how they're doing. And again, if we can provide support, provide some crisis intervention, and then refer out for additional services as needed. The third is open psychoeducation groups. And I kind of like to refer to these as like wellness groups, mental wellness groups. And those will be available to anyone who's staying on campus. We want to include areas including like maybe social skills development, effective communication, or resource management. I can see us partnering with case managers to provide those services. And the last two are closed group psychotherapy and individual psychotherapy. We call it closed group psychotherapy because individuals would have to go through an assessment process and then be prescribed that particular service, and the same thing with individual psychotherapy. And these two services will be available to individuals who are staying on campus because they do need to go through an intake process prior to receiving the services. And so those are our five proposed services. I'm really super excited to get into campus, to be able to collaborate with the VOA staff, our case managers, and really be able to provide services to the individuals on campus. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that is really exciting.
And if that wasn't enough, construction has started. So we are working through how to share a ton of information about all these different changes. What I am pleased to share with you is an effort behind an actual paper newsletter. And the reason that we're going to do this is going to go out this week and you will receive a copy, is because somehow we've got to get in everybody's hand a map of how do they get to case management and what does it look like tomorrow when we move buildings around. And, not everybody has email. Not everybody on the staff side has email either. So we want to make sure that staff and people staying at the shelter have a really clear understanding of what's happening. We're going to be sharing success stories. We're going to be providing updates on seasonal changes and all types of things that are going to be going on. So as I said, this will be going out. You will see this. Our plan for you, this will be a monthly newsletter. We'll make sure that you receive it, and then we will communicate, as you've mentioned in the past, anything that you probably need to know about before it hits the news, or something big that maybe is a change of direction that we're working through. But that's going to be our plan. This will also be available on the website, as we've always done. All updates will also be there. We've also been, an update went out to our 4th Street business partners. We want to make sure they're going to see some increased traffic from people walking around and construction vehicles with all the different projects. We want to make sure that they have us to reach out to in case anything should change that they're seeing. So we will remain responsive to all of those things. Specifically to the campus, this is what our construction area looks like right now. You can see all of those little buildings on our map. They're all color-coded and all of that for what they are, but all of the case management buildings, the mail is there, our intake building is there now, and we will be opening that up hopefully this week. That will include the metal detectors, and our intake will be moved from in the middle of the sprung to the front gate. So we're hoping that will help streamline a couple of things. Also, we're working for the food tent is a big thing. When construction starts in the sprung, if you'll recall from some of those maps, we're essentially taking that A section and where the case management was, which was where we were serving meals, and our warming center, and we're pulling it out. And the construction through the middle of the sprung, that little sliver of space will move bed to bed, and we'll do-si-do people around. But we won't, what we're trying to do is keep as many people inside the sprung during construction as we possibly can. So we're moving food into a tent outside. That tent will become enclosed. It will be heated and cooled. We're working on some plans for the smoke, some carbon air filters to make sure that it's not a smoky area. We will also make sure that there is enough space for that to remain the day center that's open all the time. If anybody needs to get out of the heat, they can come there. There will be plumbed drinking water in that tent. And again, if it is smoky over the summer, we will leave it open overnight so anybody can come to the campus and get out of the smoke. We are also planning, we're going to be starting to meet with some of our partners. As we've always said, we can't do it alone. We know that there are other places in the community with day centers. Our place, Eddie House, we've got a lot of partners out there that have a place. There's a couple specific MCO day style rooms. We're going to be leaning on them a little bit when it gets very hot so that we can make sure the campus has room for everybody. If you can go to our place or Eddie House, we're going to ask that you do that. So that we can leave the capacity for people who don't have a different option, that kind of thing. And we're going to stay flexible. I think we've got as much space as we have had all along, all year. We're going to have that much space during construction, but we might get pinched a little bit to add more than that. So that's where we are on this. And as I said, we'll use this newsletter to continue each month to show what the maps and all of that look like. This is our John DeCarmine recommendations. You can see a couple of them are starting to move over into the green. I probably should have dictated which those are, but with budgets in place and case management teams in place and the new VOA staff in place, we are starting to see some of this stuff solidify. A lot of policies are getting written and a lot of staff are getting added. I guess one more point on that. John has been here. He was here, I think we shared with you in May, he was here. He's working with us right now through this transition and to help us develop what diversion looks like at the campus. And then he'll be back in the fall, and we've asked him for September to give you guys an update also of how we're doing and what things look like. And then these are our stats. This is the same graph, the same set of graphs that you guys have seen for the past several months. So we'll just flip through them and give a couple seconds on each one. If you stop there for a second, as you can see, our exits to permanent housing are starting to increase, which is exactly what we hope to see. We've been hovering right around 14, 15 all year. We're up to 27 the last 2 months. The goal for the campus, as set by John DeCarmine for us, was to see 50 housing placements a month to permanent housing options. So we're moving in the right direction. And like I said, with that new case management team in place, they're very excited to see this number start to go up. Okay, and with that, I'll open it up to questions to anybody here.
Thank you, Councilman Dare.
Sure. One of the things, when it's appropriate, and I'm sure it'd be nice to go on a tour when you guys get things to the right place. I mean, obviously, we don't need to just go watch construction, but when you feel like there's something that might be worthwhile, I think that'd be fantastic. It helps my brain to see it, and I'd love to put my arms around it, but good job. And it is very exciting. I love on the mental health portion. I know I'd be real interested to see how we're moving forward on that. That'd be one of the updates. I think it's the most crucial element to anything we're talking about is having caseworkers. If not, God bless all the work you do, but it's much more difficult to really see movement. But my real question goes to the veteran. It doesn't seem like that number is moving, and I say that
Yes, if I may, that is a self-reported number.
Okay.
That is what is added to HMIS is self-reported, and then as the case managers start to dig in, those will be cleared up. It is actually I don't even want to give you a number.
Fair enough.
It's significantly less than that, and that is what we're working through with the case managers is figuring out, who really has a background with our transitional age youth, who has a background in veterans, who knows the ins and outs of those systems, and then we're working through getting those attached to that case manager.
And obviously, I know it's their choice what they want to do. That's part of the whole piece of all this. But I know, from what I understand, is that there are places right now waiting for them, so for that to continue. So, but I appreciate what you just shared, and I'll wait for some probably more accurate information then. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councilwoman Jordan.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Dana. Great presentation and great interview that you did on the TV a couple of days ago. I thought it was fantastic. You're a great representative giving information out in the community. I'm excited for the newsletter. I think it gives a visual with some snapshot data that will really help to inform the community and keep them informed. So I think that's great information. Mr. Benton, as the new shelter director, I've had the joy of working with you for a few years now on a variety of different things, the Reno Works program being one of them. VOA is lucky to have you at the helm. Congratulations and welcome aboard. I think you're going to do fantastic. Juliana, everybody involved that has done the work over the last few years under really tough circumstances. Thank you to all of you. You should sit here today and look at the numbers and know that a year before the CARES campus was open, we were only able to serve half the number of people. So while the numbers at the CARES campus have been up at the almost full range, the 600-ish a night range, that's double the number of people that the campus was able to help than the year prior when we had people sleeping in tents in parking lots and scattered hither and yon. And so you should all take great pride, even in a year that was, the shelter that was put together in a record amount of time because it had to be. And under very difficult circumstances with a pandemic, you should be very happy about the work that you've done. And I think when you look particularly at the data and the point in time count, as much as people wanted to throw rocks at the CARES campus and the work being done there, double the number of people had shelter and services than had it the year prior, and our unsheltered population during the point in time count went down by 46%. Let me say that again, 46%. So even in its first year of some new opening bumps, the unsheltered population went down by 46%. And I don't know if those of you that during some of the more difficult times went into the parks in downtown or along the river or downtown Reno, I encourage you to come take a look. It looks drastically different, and that's because everybody broke down their silos. Everybody had a united vision in what we needed to do, and we are getting there. We still have a tremendous amount of work to do, but the proof is in the pudding and in the data, and you should all be very proud for the work you have done. So kudos to all of you that are in it every day. Dana, the county, everybody at VOA, everybody at the city of Reno, Monica, Cynthia, Safe and Clean, RISE, Karma Box, the Downtown Reno Partnership. Just a huge thank you.
Beautifully said, and I do think that it really came from the leadership of this board. Even before I was able to be elected into office, I'm just so thrilled about the future of the campus and the team out here. Thank you so much for your hard work, and we're coming along here and getting it together. So thank you. I'm very optimistic, and I think the community should be very proud of this information. I was reached out to by the Great Basin Chaplain Corps, and they want to have a partnership agreement with us as well. So I just wanted to make sure I noted that before I forgot. Any other comments by the community? Yeah.
I got one. I have one more comment. Yes. I just wanted to also, in giving out some shout outs, and by no means for those listening out there to think that the work here is done and that there's not still significant things we need to continue to work on every day, and we will continue to do that. But the partnerships that have come in the last few years have really been tremendous. And I was at an event Saturday night at Ranchera. It was for the grand opening of the village at Ranchera, which is amazing shops down there, which are just beautiful. But one of the members that constructed that, Par Tolls with Tolls Development, he's on the board of the private group that is doing significant fundraising, because it's not, this doesn't happen by government alone. It won't be successful by government alone. And there are really engaged and generous and thoughtful people on the private side that want to be a part of the future of this campus. They see it, they see what benefits it has. They see through the data, the benefits that it's having. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the private sector and their fundraising efforts to the tune of some $9 million, I think. And they're doing it. They're doing the work. The event was not only to celebrate the opening of the Village at Ranchera, but as a fundraising and awareness campaign for the Nevada Cares campus, because construction costs, not getting any cheaper. And there's lots of things as we move along, we're going to say, well, it would be great to have this amenity or this thing on site to really make this a campus that does all for all. And that's going to take the private sector coming along this journey with us. And I just wanted to give a shout out to that group and the work they're doing.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. Any other committee members? All right. Thank you so much, Dana. All right. Next up, we have item 9, board members' announcements include requests for future board agenda items. Any board requests? I'm excited that John DeCarmine will give us an update so we can show the community how much we've achieved on his to-do list, and maybe we'll get an update on where we are with transitional housing. We'll see what that is. Yes.
And that was it, I think, just to summarize, maybe a City of Reno update on our housing efforts and priorities. And then we talked about getting some additional deeper dive on the funding.
Yes,
Yeah.
the funding for emergency deposits and rental assistance. Yes, thank you. All right. Yes, no, okay. We will go to our last public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person, may pertain to matters both on and off the board agenda. The board will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the board as a whole. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone?
We do not.
Okay, I will adjourn our meeting. Thank you, everyone, for coming out.